Hello. I'm back. People keep the project of Yandere Simulator under a lot of scrutiny. Not without a reason, of course. In fact, there are very many reasons, such as wanting to let people know the game doesn't go anywhere, or not liking the game particularly, or just to take an opportunity to kick a person when they are down for the sake of it, or just to get some ad revenue. Recently I was given a lot of new files. Some seem to be new, some seem to be old, some give an insight on the work pipeline behind the scenes. But this video will be covering one particular file. My previous videos show plenty of odd files with ridiculous number of polygons and textures with huge resolution. The numbers of triangles reach more than 12,000. But all that is insignificant with the new challenger. Some of you may already guess what that is. But let's not hurry. I would like to give a short explanation before getting down to business. Not so long ago people have started talking about a weird huge file. I found it strange. I have thoroughly looked back and forth the meshes of the project multiple times in the past, and yet I had never seen anything even remotely like that. That file is supposed to be used for the poster and is said to have 25,000 polygons. What is even more strange is that people first learned about the file from a picture, and only some time later it was supposedly ripped from the project. Now I have that file on my hands. It came in FBX format. The person who shared the file claimed to have it ripped using Asset Studio. But here is the thing, Asset Studio extracts meshes into OBJ format. But that's alright, it could have just been ray-saved. Let's check inside. At first glance it appears to be a plane. But when the wireframe is turned on, all the grotesque beauty of the mesh is revealed to the eyes of those unfortunate to witness. As you can see, it has unimaginable amount of edges, some seem to overlap. First thing that comes to the attention is how uneven the edges are. It doesn't seem to be placed on the mesh using a modifier. Someone did this manually on purpose, and trust me, it was a hassle. Looking around you will see it's not a plane, it's a box. Looking at the name of the mesh container you will notice it's nothing more than a common cube with nothing more than a bunch of edges cut through it. Let's check the UV. As you can see, it has default cubic UV, distorted by excess amount of edges. There are no textures for the posters that can fit into this UV unwrap. This file does looks like a scene, with a default mesh in it. RIP files don't look like this. The mesh container is always titled simply as mesh, not cube or sphere. Let's try to find the file inside the project by its name. Trying full or part of the name in the search query doesn't show matching results. It's not in the project. Now, let me point out the most obvious thing. It's not triangulated, which means it's not extracted, but original file. What does all of this mean? But let's not hurry to make conclusions just yet. Some of you may already know I like people with loose tongues. I have once went out of my way in the past to talk about online personalities. Unlike the developer of Yandere Simulator, there is not much funny about those people. They are gross and repulsive in their derangement, hypocrisy, and general stupidity. It would take an eternity to mention all of them, so I'll just take time to speak about one in particular. This imposter. The audacity to assume we won't notice his impersonation of the true and honest author of the famous webcomic about Electric Hedgehog Pokemon. But let's keep the talk about his act of identity theft for later. Let's talk about his competency related to our topic instead. This discount Christian is a very prolific blogger. He decided it would be smart to dip into cold waters of digital modeling expertise and amateur game development to give his uninformed opinions with insulting confidence. It would require way too much time to correct every single statement of his, so I'll just note a few of them, and besides, many of them are no longer available on his channel, for obvious reasons. It's a miracle they lasted as long as they did. Now, back to the topic. He's the person who made a video on this asset and claimed it to be used in the game. This weird new mesh, which I had never seen before and which seemed to never appear anywhere, but in personal chats, comes not from the Yandere Simulator. It's not even related to the development. It's just a random pile of polygons made with malicious intent to throw yet another stone to Alex's stone garden. People who shared this model even specify what poster it belongs to. Needless to say, being fake just as the identity of our small-time celebrity, it was very quickly disproved by simple hobbyists. It doesn't require any degree or exceptional mind. The very poster mentioned has in fact no more than 4 vertices. By the way, some people find it more convenient to count mesh complexity with vertices instead of polygons, since the latter is not very representative. Was that intentional misinformation, or was that a complete lack of the very basic knowledge? Whatever the case is, he clearly has no business talking about video game development. That's not all, however. I would like to point one more thing. It's genuinely amusing how little this bootleg Christian knows about the subject. Here he compares the looks of models from an editor viewport to those rendered in the game with the custom shaders. But for those who don't get it, I'll explain a bit deeper. Viewport of the editing software and a video game have different shading, which defines how image is rendered. This means an asset will always be shaded differently in the editor. I could go on like this all day, but nobody has time for this. Before I finish, let me show you how a genuine incompetence would look like. We would take a simple plane and subdivide it multiple times. We get consistent edge flow. Let's do the same, but with adding edge loops instead. Again, it gives consistent polygon density. But what can I do to repeat that atrocious mess? I'll have to manually cut through it. As you can see, it takes time and effort. It was no mistake, it was done intentionally with the purpose to slander. On the internet, don't rush to believe anyone, no matter how sweet their words are to your ears. There are many people with ill intentions, and there are very many idiots who talk more than they should. People like Alex are perfect target of malicious misinformation for their low social status, because mob is very unlikely to prosecute the unwarranted abuse. Don't think there are noble intentions behind it, and watch who you chose to believe.